Yesterday, we saw Kareem Hunt go down with a very bad looking leg injury, and this was a concerning one right from the get-go because right after the play was over, we saw that he was really grabbing on that calf area, and he really required a lot of assistance to get off of the field and would ultimately be carted off. Now, on the actual play that we saw Hunt get injured on, he was running straight forward on a play when he immediately fell to the turf and he started grabbing at the back of his lower leg area. Now, right from the get-go, people were speculating on whether or not this was going to be an Achilles injury or a calf injury. Today, we did get some news regarding the injury. As of right now, sources are saying that Kareem Hunt is in fact dealing with a calf injury and he's expected to miss several weeks. Now, although the sources did not officially release the severity of that calf injury, we can speculate based on the recovery time frame that they're giving us as of right now. And since some people may not be too familiar with the anatomy of a calf injury and the grading system used, I'm going to go ahead and focus on that with this video. Welcome, NFL fans. For those of you that aren't familiar with me, my name is Nick Gallo and I'm a doctor of physical therapy. And with my channel, I try to take a look at sports injuries and explain them so that they're a little bit easier to understand and go over what a person should expect when they are in rehab for that particular injury. If you like today's video and you find it informative, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I will be making more videos in the future regarding sports injuries, rehabilitation, and other physical therapy related content. Also, if you have comments or questions, please leave those in the comment section below. Now we can see right here in this camera angle that as Kareem Hunt is running forward, all of a sudden he's going to reach down and just grab at that calf area and immediately fall to the turf. Now here I have a model of the knee, and so if we go to the back here, there is a big muscle on the calf known as the gastrocnemius, which a lot of us associate with as being the main calf muscle. That is that big fat muscle belly that we feel. If you feel right behind your knee right now in that lower leg, you're going to feel that gastrocnemius muscle. Then as you go a little bit deeper, there is a muscle known as the soleus. And finally, there is a third muscle known as the plantaris. And all three of these are going to make up what we know as the calf musculature. And as those muscles go further down the leg, they're going to join into their common tendon known as the Achilles tendon, and that's going to attach right onto this calcaneus bone right through here. The calf musculature is going to play major roles in a foot position known as plantar flexion, which is pointing the toes down this way. And this is a foot position that is involved in a lot of sport-specific movements, such as when a person is exploding on the turf or on the court, or if they're going to be jumping, or of course, if they're going to be running or sprinting. So the calf musculature is utilized in a lot of sport-specific movements, so you can see why it is so essential to have the calf musculature and of course the Achilles tendon intact so the athlete can do all of these things. Now, on the contrary, when a person is going into a foot position known as dorsiflexion like this is going to stretch all of that musculature in the back of the calf. When we look at the injury right from the get-go, it looks like Hunt is grabbing higher up on the leg, which is exactly where that calf musculature is. If he were grabbing lower down towards that heel there, then to me that would look like that would be more of an Achilles involvement. So right from the get-go when I saw this play, I was assuming that it was going to be a calf injury, and fortunately today, that is good news that it is just a calf injury because an Achilles tear can put somebody out for the remainder of the year. One other interesting thing that we see when Hunt is being helped off of the field is that he is not putting hardly any weight through that injured leg. And this is because when we walk normally, the person's foot is going to make contact with the ground and go through dorsiflexion, which is going to stretch that calf muscle once again. When a person has an injury to a muscle, the last thing you want to do is stretch it. So that is going to be an extremely painful position. So that right there also confirms that we are dealing with a contractile tissue injury. Now there is a grading system for these calf injuries, and they are grades 1, 2, and 3. In a grade 1 calf injury, typically a person is going to get some stretching of the calf, but there will not be any tearing. In a grade 2 calf injury, this is when a person is going to get some stretching and some micro partial tearing of the affected calf muscle. And finally, in a grade 3 injury, this is when we're going to see a complete rupture of the muscle. With that grade 1 calf injury, typically the time frame to return to sport is going to be anywhere from about 1 week to maybe a maximum of about 10 days. This is because, once again, you're not getting any tearing of the affected tissue, you're just getting some abnormal stretching. In a grade 2 calf injury, typically this is going to sideline a person for several weeks, maybe up to about 4 weeks, depending on the severity. Because you get some partial tearing of the affected muscle, this is when you're going to have some bruising and of course some inflammation and a lot of pain in that affected area. And finally, in the grade 3, because you are getting that full rupture of the affected muscle, this can take several months, maybe upwards of about 6 months. What's interesting about a grade 3 is that because you're getting a full rupture of the affected muscle, the person may not even be able to properly plantar flex or engage that muscle because there is no more continuity in that affected muscle. A test that we use on field or on court for somebody with a suspected Achilles tear is something known as a Thompson test. And this is when you're going to have the individual lie prone and you're going to squeeze that affected calf muscle, and you're looking essentially to see if that foot will plantar flex or not. This is a very good test for Achilles tears, but it can also be used if it is a very severe calf tear as well. So sometimes in a grade 3 calf injury, a person will have a positive Thompson test as well. Since right now sources are saying that Hunt is due to miss several weeks with this injury, to me it sounds like he's dealing with more of a grade 2 calf injury as opposed to a grade 1, which would be significantly shorter than that, and of course a grade 3, which would be significantly longer. Severity of calf strains, of course, are diagnosed via the MRI, which is the gold standard for this type of an injury. Unfortunately, we don't have the exact results of that, but once again, based on the time frame, it makes sense that he is in fact dealing with that grade 2. Now, when we're talking about rehab for a calf injury, typically right away, we're going to follow that acronym RICE that I talk a lot about on my videos. And that, of course, is R for rest, I for ice, C for compression, and E for elevation, just to get that inflammation under control. Then once the inflammation has been pumped out of the area and the person has more pain-free range of motion, typically this will take around 7 to maybe 10 days, depending on the severity. Then we can start to work in gentle range of motion of the affected area to achieve the normal range of motion that the person had pre-injury. Then once the person is starting to feel better with everything, this is when we can start to add in some light strengthening. Once the person does well with this, then finally we can start to add in more aggressive strengthening and stretching movements, and then finally progress them back to sport-specific movements. So unfortunately, as of right now, it looks like Kareem Hunt is dealing with a grade 2 calf injury, but you know, on the bright side, it is not a full Achilles rupture or a full calf rupture. So given the fact that he's going to have the best care and he's going to have follow-up appointments with the doctor and probably extensive rehab on the affected area, I think he will make a full recovery and is due to come back at some point in this season. But that's why it's going to be really important to see how he does with the recovery process, because not every injury is the same because everybody is different. If I happen to hear any updates regarding Kareem Hunt's case, I'll be sure to update everybody in the comment section. And if you happen to hear anything, also feel free to update everybody as well. And that's it as of right now regarding Kareem Hunt's most recent calf injury. I really appreciate you watching today's video. Once again, if you like the content on this channel, please subscribe because I will be doing more videos in the future. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.